Hello everyone, welcome to this video where we are going to dive into maximum sum of distinct subarray with length k. So you receive as input an array of elements and you're supposed to find out what is the maximum sum of k consecutive elements you can have given that those k elements are actually distant. That means this is definitely the longest sum of k element, k of 3, but in this subarray you have elements that are repeating themselves, which is actually 9 coming 3 times. So in this scenario the solution will be actually this subarray with a sum of 9 plus 2, which is 11, plus 4, which is 15. Even though this sum of 27 is bigger than 15, it doesn't respect the second condition. So that is what we are supposed to do here. Find out the sum, the biggest sum of subarray of length k with distant element in the subarray. So there's a brute force approach, which is actually taking each of the element as the beginning of the array of length k, and then now you check is all of the next k element distant. If it's the case, is the sum actually bigger than the previous sum I was having? If you do, if so, you keep the sum and you move forward. You take the next one, you do the same, and that will actually lead you to n square. So 10 power 5 times 10 power 5, which is something you don't want, because k can be as big as the size of the nums. Another approach is that you can use a map and a sliding window to kind of avoid the repetition we were facing with the brute force approach. But in this scenario, what I will implement is actually still a map to count the number of occurrence of elements, but associated with a set to just check if there is a duplicate element or not. So let me just walk you through my approach, what I think I will implement. So let's say we have a k of 3. We know for sure that the k minus 1 first element will never meet the condition of being a valid subarray. So we can first start by here. So we first put our k minus 1 element. In this case, it's 2 elements. So I will have 6 and 7. And one thing we should keep in mind is that we need to have a temporary sum, which is actually keeping where you are adding all of the elements you are going through. So in this case, it will be already 6 plus 8. So at the first time it will be 6, and then the second, 6 plus 7. The first time it will be 6, the second time it will be 13. Bingo. So now we are moving here. This is interesting. From this one now, it's interesting because each of the elements you're adding can or either be a valid solution. Let's say we add an 8. When you add an 8, you know, is my set having a length of 3? In this case is yes. Now that the set has, whenever you are adding an element, you need to compute the sum here. So now I'm moving to 21. So now, is the set having a sum of 3? Yes. If it's the case, now my temporary sum will actually be like the answer if it's greater than the previous sum. So now our solution is actually 21. And now what is interesting is that after this, you need to remove the k minus 1, the I minus k plus 1 element, because that element should not be part of the next subarray we are going to compute. And for that, we need to remove element 6. So we remove this guy. And then now we continue. We add a 9. Since we have removed this guy, we need to remove it from this sum. So we are moving now to 15. 21 minus 6. Now we are now on 9. We are adding 9. Since we are adding 9, we are also adding the value here, which is 24. Now we check, is the value of the set actually equal to 3? Yes, is the case. So we are going to compute. So this one is no more the solution anymore. We are moving to 24. Now who is the element we are removing? Is this guy. Perfect. So now the next element we are adding is 9. 9 is already in the in our set. So after adding 9 to our set, we are still going to remain with 8 and 9. But here what is important is that we are going to add, so we need to remove first the 7, which is actually giving us 17, and then now we are adding the new 9. So because we are here, since we are adding the 9, 17 plus 9, it will give us 26. But unfortunately with this 26 we have a length of 2, so we cannot compute, so it's not a valid solution. So we are keeping with the 24. Now we are moving to the next guy. It's a 7. But before moving to here, we are removing this element. So now this 7, we are adding 7 here. We are going to compute the sum of those two elements. You don't even compute the sum of the two elements. You are just keeping incrementing the entry element to your temporary sum, and you remove the last element to your temporary sum. That means the temporary sum will actually always be the sum of the distant element of the subarray. And if the set now of that element is actually equal to k, then you make use of this guy. And this is actually interesting here. Now you may ask yourself, why do we even need a map somewhere? Because from this element where we're looping, all of the elements we're meeting, like all of the elements that we're getting were the element to be removed in our map. But in this scenario, this specific scenario, when I'm here, I'm asked to remove 9 because I want to move with those two elements going forward. But you cannot remove 9 because it has been added twice. It has been added here and it's also been added here. It's only the last occurrence here that will be removed. This one cannot be removed, and that's why you need a map. The map now will indicate you that you need to remove an element only if the element where you are is actually the last occurrence of that element. That being said, that means when you are going to add this, you are going to go to your map and say, okay, I have 6 one time. And when you're going to remove this, you are going to say, okay, now I have 6. When you are going to remove this, there will be no 6. In this case, you say, I have 9 one time. I have 9 one time. And then when you will be, I have 9 two times. When you will be here, you will try to remove this guy. But you say, oh, I cannot remove this guy because I have 9 two times. So you just decrement. And when you will be trying to remove this guy, okay, I have 9 only one time, so I can remove. So that is the overall idea of using a map to have this done. Okay, so now let's walk into the code. I'll just code everything and I will explain again. So okay, so as we just said, so what you have is you have your counter. The map is actually like a counter, and you have your set here, which is keeping all of the elements you are going to see while moving. So for each of the occurrence of the element, you need to add the element to your set, count the number of occurrence of the element, and add the element to your temporary sum, like we did here. Now, only if I is actually greater or equal to k minus 1 that you need to check is that a valid solution or not. No, but for the first two elements, like the first k minus 1 element, you just need to add them, and for the rest of the element, you need to add, remove, and compute the sum. Okay, so what is it about? If the size of the set is actually equal to k, so all of the elements are distant, so you try to see if the temp is actually greater than your previous ans. So that is the use of this. Now you need to check only if the number of occurrence of that element in your counter is equal to 1. That means the last occurrence, then you erase the element. Now after that, you always need to remove the element that is getting out. That means for each of the occurrence, like if I'm on this one, I would definitely need to remove this guy. So that's why I'm always removing this one, and then I'm decrementing the number of occurrence of that one that has been removed. Yeah, that's the overall idea. So let us submit and see what it gives. Perfect, working pretty well. So this is my approach of solving this. I hope you do enjoy it. Feel free to give me any input. I'll be really happy to interact with you regarding this. See you tomorrow for a new video. Ciao, keep learning.